Hello, everybody. I'm here today with Philip Condron, founder of Screen Combat Ireland. So he specializes in action design, stunt performance, and fight choreography. So, Philip, can you tell us how you got into this line of work?
Yeah. I was studying martial arts for a long time. Got my black belt in American Kempo. And one day I had a student come in who wanted to do a fight scene for a TV series for an audition. And he came in, we'd done the fight. I didn't know what it meant or what it was at the time. And when he did it, he asked me to audition as well. So I ended up on a show called Into the Badlands as a martial artist.
I've heard of
And
it.
yeah, quite a big one here in Ireland for a while. And while I was there, I got to see everyone do fight scenes and like stunt work and all that. So I was hooked straight from there, and I wanted to get involved. And I was told I had to be a stunt performer, so
Okay,
pretty much fell into it.
brilliant. Did you roll into it and somersault into it?
Not
and
not on that set.
backflip into it? Okay, so long before the professional side of this, as a child, were you always quite intrigued or
Mm.
interested in stunts? And were you jumping off buildings or climbing up trees, or how did that go?
Yeah, it's always been in me as a kid.
Yeah.
Um, I always tell people my first experience of action was Mortal Kombat, the
Oh,
film.
yeah, yeah.
So my dad rented it out one day for me, and I watched that, and I fell in love with martial arts and fighting,
Aw.
and so it's always been instilled in me.
Mm.
And then as a kid growing up, I was doing all kinds of things like climbing trees and um, jumping into bushes and mess fighting with friends. So it's always been there deep down, but growing up, I never knew it was an avenue to go for work, you know.
Okay, so
Until
it was
I
a
was-
natural passion without thinking of it as
Yeah.
a career.
Yeah.
So it's always been in you. And in terms of some of the stunts you do, obviously you're putting yourself at risk, you're putting yourself out there physically. Do you ever feel scared?
Yeah, it's natural to be afraid.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you're told by coordinators, if you're not afraid to do stunt work, then there's something wrong.
Okay.
Fear often helps you survive a stunt or helps you react a bit quicker. The adrenaline that's involved makes you a little bit more sharp. So if you're not afraid to do a stunt in some way, whether it's tiny or big, it can be a bit strange, you know, because you don't have that
Okay.
perseverance element to help you.
Okay. So it's kind of like a fuel to the fire that keeps you going.
More or less, yeah.
So
Keeps you
you
surviving.
you enjoy the nervousness and the fear, and you just go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it can be quite nerve-wracking, but you're never told to do something that you can't do. It's
Okay.
it's like your resume, especially for acting. Like you'll only play the roles or the skills that you can perform, and that's all down to safety, because you want to maximize as much safety as possible on a set
Yes.
as a stunt performer.
And that's why we have professional stunt performers, and it's for our safety, especially in the film industry. If somebody isn't trained to perform a certain stunt, the producers, the directors will hire a stunt performer to take that person's place as a body double to perform the stunts that they're not able to do. So I've heard there's a bit of a controversy with that, of some people trying to do their own stunts when they're not trained professionally to do that. Would you like to
Yeah.
tell us a bit about that?
Well, first of all, the onus is always on you to say that you can do something properly.
Mm-hmm.
Your contract also states that as well, that you're fit and capable of doing what's required. So, oftentimes, lying about your skills can be very dangerous to you as well as the production. And it's very important that you know how to perform your skills in the right way so that you meet the demands of the production and your longevity in the career of stunt
Mhm.
work. So, safety is always paramount, whether it's fighting, falling, doing high falls, everything. It's very important you always train, and you should always be mindful of yourself in that regard, because you're putting yourself in danger if you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important. And in terms of your own safety, I know that you have the professional training, but things can go wrong. What's the worst injury that you've encountered during your stunt performance?
Well, touch wood. I hope this is wood. I haven't suffered any kind of major injuries yet.
Oh.
I've had small niggles. I've had a dislocated kneecap from a fall, and I've hurt my shoulder in a bicycle stunt. But apart from that, I've had anything major so far. Because you do like training, like I said, is very important. You always need to be prepared for what you do, and sometimes it's the small stunts actually that can hurt you more because of like complacency and things like that, you know.
Big word, that's really important. In screen combat training, I presume, is complacency, is that somebody perhaps gets overconfident and they feel too comfortable and then something goes wrong. Am I correct in saying that?
And it's also a belief in that you can do more than you actually can.
Yeah.
I've had a few people, when they come to class, they get excited as well. So it's emotional management too, as well as managing your adrenaline and your nerves. And oftentimes some people will think they can perform more than they can, and then they learn very quickly that it's not true, you know, because there's a lot of moving parts in fight scenes, stunt work, and overall action design. And that can be from distancing with your partner, working with the right people, learning how to throw a punch in an awkward angle, but in a safe way that doesn't hurt your partner. So there's a lot of nuance involved in fight scenes, and it's through repetition and training that you can kind of iron them out.
Okay, so a lot of what you do is fight scenes when you're performing on various productions. How about jumps and different... You said you did something on a bicycle before.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate on besides fight scenes, what else have you done in terms of...
I've done a lot of wire work. I've done hangings.
Hanging from a rope?
Yeah, where you fake getting hung by the neck.
Oh, wow.
That's all wire-based stuff. So
okay.
The secret to that is your pick points on your hips.
Okay.
So while you're doing a lot of these things as well, you have to act as well. So you have to act like you're choking and all that, you know?
Yeah.
And then for the bicycle stunt, that was for The Racer. It was a film shot here in Ireland. It was a Belgium and Ireland collaboration. And it was about the doping that went on here in the peloton.
I heard things about that, yeah.
So I had to crash the peloton with a couple of other stunt performers and create this like chaos and like jam up the whole bicycle, the race. So
oh my goodness.
I went onto my shoulder, and I twinged it. And it was funny because we'd done a lot of rehearsals prior to that, and near the end of the day, I done one last rehearsal, and I just landed wrong in it, and it kind of just snowballed from there. But I was able to manage to keep going and persevere through it, and do two of them in different takes, in different days. So that required going over the handlebars into a tumble and then roll out of the crash. So a lot of acrobatics and martial arts training helped there.
Amazing. And in terms of flexibility, do you stretch a lot? Or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you would find stretching very important.
It's very important, yeah. And I believe you do yoga as well.
I do, yeah.
Yoga's becoming a very popular practice with stunt performers, especially as you get older. It keeps you nimble, keeps you flexible. Oftentimes when you're performing stunts, you could be getting thrown to the floor, you could be falling off a bicycle, you could be getting pulled through a wire, and you have to make interesting shapes and make it look messy. So oftentimes being flexible allows your body to be able to bend in different ways. So stretching is very important.
Yeah, so it's not just about the strength, because obviously you have to be able to bend and shape and twist into different things. So I can see how that's important. And in terms of preparation and mindset, because we spoke about fear and that you do get nervous and you do get scared, how do you prepare yourself mentally for stunt performance? Do you meditate? Do you go for a walk? Do you listen to affirmations? Is there any kind of mental preparation that you would do?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. Excuse me. there's quite a lot of throughout my practice and my training, I've learned different methodologies on how to relax. Martial arts was probably the most important.
Okay.
It teaches a lot of resilience on how to face adversity through failure all the time. So I always advocate martial arts for good, strong mindset, because you're not always going to win in martial arts. There's the element of losing as well in martial arts, and that's the kind of area in our lives we often don't like to accept, failure and losing. So once you get used to losing a lot, you can start to kind of become a little bit more fearless in terms of what you do, because at the end, like I said, the failure aspect is what makes us a bit more afraid of what we do. So by accepting that, it kind of relaxes the mind a bit. I also listen to affirmations as well, motivational speech videos. I've done a lot of mindfulness over the years, to help with my mind as well. So a lot of these things I bring into performance, but like the prep work before the set, because usually when you're preparing, everything's nice and chill, you're playing, you're figuring out how to do things, but then on the day of the performance in the stunt, literally like if it's 10 minutes before you're on, you're like rolling, your heart's starting to pick up and stuff. So it's very important to breath work, kind of relax the heart rate, and also trust in your rehearsals as well, because by doing a lot of rehearsal you can actually calm yourself a bit better, because you've done it over and over again in a controlled environment. So that really helps you in terms of the stunt performance as well.
Yeah, so the preparation is just as important as the work itself.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And in terms of teaching, you teach classes on Sunday, is it? Every Sunday in Dublin City?
Yeah, in Parnell Street.
And performers come to these classes?
Everybody, yeah.
Yeah, and is it any level can go there?
Beginners to advanced.
Beginners to advanced. And tell us more about your class and what you're teaching at the moment.
So, I started in 2018. When I was pursuing my own career in stunt work, I felt a bit alone at times.
Okay.
Because it's quite a niche area,
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
And unless you're in the industry, you hear very little about what's going on, and therefore there's not as much of a support system as there should be. So I put a school together to teach people, so that I could train and learn at the same time, and in return teach them too to be performers. So my skill set was always martial arts, and I was always into acting and filmmaking, so I merged the two and it became Screen Combat Ireland, which is what I'm doing now, 2024.
So you record screen combat fighting show reels for your students.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
So if I was a student and I came to you, I'm going to be learning how to train as a screen combat performer, and I'm also getting a show reel, and basically I can go out there and work in the screen combat world.
It's definitely helpful, because we can all get certificates for things, but producers, coordinators, fight coordinators, stunt coordinators, casting directors, they all want to see what you want to do, what you can do. Yeah, and a little cert doesn't, like it says you've done the learning, but it's more the physical work that you put into your videos that shows if you can do it for real, So
it's evidence.
It's evidence, exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of my take on the whole screen fighting element. Is that okay? The students need to learn how to fight and how to perform martial arts correctly and how to throw a punch correctly, because oftentimes you can learn how to perform a fight but not know how to fight. So that was I kind of flipped it on its back and done it the reverse way. Teach people how to fight, teach them how to be safe and understand the mechanics of fighting, and then perform. because a lot of the times you've been to the class.
I have been, yeah, and I really, really, really enjoy the class. You continue, and I can tell you more about that.
You can agree that memorizing choreography and acting at the same time can be quite tedious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to show people how to fight so that they don't need to think about fighting. They can be the character again with the performance, you know. And oftentimes it's more safe to do because you've already done your prep work. You've already figured out how your safe distance works, how to treat the other person in the performance, what they can take, what they can't take, and then put it all together and shoot it and then edit a nice fight that they can showcase. Yeah,
so I found that in your classes there's always safety is always prioritized, and we make sure that there's a safe distance between myself and another student. And I just have to say, personally, for me it's very empowering. So, you know, even if you weren't to use, if you were just to do it as a hobby, it's very empowering to be involved in the fighting, the boxing, it releases something.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite a empowering. I'm using the word empowering again, but it's it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
For me, as a woman, I've had scenes in your class with a male performer, and I've been able to flip him over my shoulders, even though I didn't actually flip him over my shoulders. It's a fake fight scene, but I felt great about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool to know, because I never thought of it that way. I always thought of it as more therapeutic in some way, because you're releasing this aggression in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And that can be a nice release for a lot of people, you know. But the empowering element now, I never thought of, so that's great to hear.
Well, it's both as well. It is a release of aggression when you're doing the punching, but empowering is a feeling powerful. Yes, in a good way. Like, I have strength, I'm powerful, you know, I'm kicking ass, basically.
Yeah.
That's how I would say it feels.
That's great.
So, in terms of your film experience, you have been Colin Farrell's body double.
Stunt double.
Stunt double, body double. What's the difference?
The difference, body double will often just double the body itself.
Okay.
So if, for example, if Colin had to step out for a while to take a break, and they were doing pickups on, like, say, him bending over something, they bring the body double in.
Okay.
So they'd look like it. But a stunt double actually performs the hazardous and riskful performances that the actor might not feel comfortable to do.
Okay.
Or can't do as well.
So what did you have to do for Colin Farrell then?
I get this a lot, and people often say it's not much of a stunt, but I had to stand on the edge of the cliff for Colin in Dunangus.
That is a stunt.
It is.
Right on the edge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
In terms, exactly, and in terms of the viewer, they'd look and go, oh, that's you know, that's not too stunty, you know, but realistically, I had to stand 80 metres high at the edge of a cliff. And I had 2 cables on me to keep myself safe, and I had to, like, step over the edge of the cliff and lean forward. So whereas if someone would stand just at the foot of the cliff, I had to go that little bit extra more. And in one of the takes, it never made the cut, but I had to hold one of the cameras for Martin McDonagh. I had to film my own feet walking to the edge of the cliff, and then look over and, like, look at the sea, and then look up to the horizon, you know.
Okay, and how did you feel? Like, what's going through your mind while you were doing that?
Not much, to be honest. Yeah. In this case, I was very comfortable because I trusted the team that was there.
Yeah.
And
which is very important to have that trust.
Yeah, especially in a stunt team, the trust element is very important. Because you want to be able to think that they can help you while you're performing. So that was one barrier that wasn't there, and then the other barrier was that I'm a rock climbing teacher as well, and I've rock climbed for 3 or 4 years.
Well done.
Thanks.
That's amazing. I used to be terrified of rock climbing. I went rock climbing in Delphi when I was 10 years old.
Oh, nice.
I got up to the top and I was fine, but then I looked down and the instructor was like, come on, keep going. And I was like, it's my life, let me down. I had, like, a big drama scene because he was like, keep going. I was like, so terrified. I'd be fine now, but you know,
Yeah.
it is scary. And that was only on a wall indoors, by the way. But I can only imagine being like outdoors, actually rock climbing on big cliffs and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It's different altogether.
And do you, is it abseiling? What do they
All
call
of it, traditional climbing.
Yeah.
So, like lead climbing would be like
Okay.
putting your own gear in the wall and
Ah.
clipping into that to be safe.
Okay.
And you progress through the wall with your own gear, and
Oh
you have
my
your buddy at
goodness.
the bottom.
Okay,
Holding
but
you.
when you get to the top, do they call it? Is it sailing off?
Safe. Tying off or
So
safe. Safe. You generally say you're safe.
Okay.
So when you get to the top of the cliff, you'd walk to an anchor point or a tree or whatever. You'd put
Okay.
in your safety gear so that you can clip into that.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you say you're safe so that the belayer, your partner, can take you off and prepare themselves to climb. Because then you have to bring them up.
Okay,
as
so
well.
that requires trust as well.
Yeah, a lot
So
of
there's
trust.
a lot of trust going on
Yeah.
in the industry. So Philip, back in the day, as you were growing up, you were a fan of Jackass, the TV series. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Did you ever try to reenact any of the scenes?
Loads.
Yeah.
I think every young boy at that time was doing that, you know. Yeah, me and my friends used to make dumb videos and like throwing ourselves down the hills and jumping in the bushes and riding into wheelie bins. And actually, me and a friend of mine used to make a podcast, not a podcast, but like a radio talk show called Stupid FM.
Stupid FM.
Yeah,
Interesting.
we were like two Dublin like howies in it, you know, trying to make it big in the videos. So a lot of it was based around that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
My dad actually, this is hilarious actually. Wow, you're bringing me down a different memory now.
Memory lane, is it?
Yeah, my dad had a JVC camera, camcorder when he was younger, when I was younger as well, and I used to be obsessed with it. I'd take it off him and I'd film stuff and everything, and some of the videos that I used to make was like Jackass related videos with his camcorder, you know.
Do you still have any of those videos?
I'd love to find them. I don't know actually. I'll have to check.
I'd like to see some.
Yeah, that's a buried memory. So
The original stunt artist of Ireland and how it all began. So when you started out in the industry originally, was there anything that you didn't expect started happening? Anything that surprised you?
I think the level of discipline and professionalism that's involved in stunt work, it's a very tightly run sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, much like everything in the film industry, but just learning how to be on time, how to be diligent, how to keep your training up, how to act professionally, among others, and how to treat each other with respect as well. Because at the end of the day, you're a team, and every team member should respect one another, because at the end of the day, I could be lifting you in the air on a scene, and then suddenly you're lifting me in the air on a scene somewhere else, or I'm lit on fire and you're putting me out, you know? So
it comes back to trust.
yeah,
Again,
absolutely, yeah.
That's obviously really, really significant, in more so than any other industry, perhaps, that you're risking your life essentially, and you need to trust the people around you. So that's a big thing.
And I think ego as well is very important to not have, because if you're overconfident in what you do, you can often become complacent, like we talked earlier.
Yeah.
And that's where accidents happen, you know. It's very important. And through martial arts, I've learned to be humble over the years and help others. It's very
That's
important.
really beautiful. That's a really important trait to have in any industry, to have that humility and loyalty and respect, and it's about teamwork, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's why I like to instill in the classes that you're not there for yourself. You're there to help each other grow. And a rising tide lifts all boats, as they say. And I like to give my students opportunity to teach other people as well when they're able to do so, because like you said earlier, it's about empowerment as well. They need to feel empowered that they can help others, and in turn we all help each other. So I believe it's a very important trait to have on a stunt team.
And I noticed in your class that you have a sign which says, "Leave your ego at the door."
Yeah. that sign doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the jiu-jitsu club. But
Right.
I do let people be aware of it when they come in.
It's a good sign, and
Yeah.
you know, it shouldn't be competitive. It should be about teamwork and working together, supporting each other and respecting each other, and it's really important. And one person I noticed in your class really helped me as well was Matthew.
Yeah.
Was very, very helpful. So he's a student, but he was much more advanced than me, and he knew that I was a newcomer coming into the class, and he was very helpful to me
Yeah.
in teaching me the ropes and
Yeah.
partnering up with me and letting me flip him upside down, even though I didn't really flip him, but letting me feel like I was kicking his ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Matthew is probably one of the kindest students I have.
Yeah.
He'll always go out of his way for you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I trust him with new people.
Yeah.
He gives more than what he gets back. And I think it's a
Definitely.
great quality to have when
100%.
helping others, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was very, very helpful to me. So it's great to have that, and to have students like that are loyal and stand by you and support you, and then they help the other people coming in. So it's a
Yeah.
great community. And the room that you teach in is fully padded.
Yeah.
So if you fall, you're falling onto a padded surface.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
But it's nice to have, but at some point you will come into a scene where you might have to do on grass, concrete, sand, all
it's going to
that.
happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So I like to remind people, that's why I do a lot of the rolling fall training at the start,
Mm-hmm.
because the padding allows you to identify where you're hitting when you fall.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're front rolling, for example, and you feel pressure on your head, that's a possibility you're going to hit your head on concrete. So I always make sure that the students identify a lot of these points of impact so that they can fix their performance.
Mm-hmm.
I also remind them, I say, pretend this floor is concrete, and then suddenly they're more careful, you know, because everyone control themselves on a soft mat
Yeah.
and enjoy themselves. But when you add that little element in, you can see how careful they become then when they do their rolls.
And Philip, would you like to tell everybody about your screen combat classes in Dublin?
Yeah, you can visit my website at www.condronactiondesign.com or drop me an Instagram at Screen Combat Ireland on Instagram. So, and we can take the bookings from there.
And those classes are on a Sunday.
Sunday at 4 p.m. in Parnell Street in George Santos Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Club.
So thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat to me today.
You're welcome.
Always a pleasure to meet you,
Yeah.
and I'm always inspired. It's been very interesting to hear all your stories. I'm sure you are a role model for many people, and I'm so proud of you. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.